Here we are still on the Terrace of the Greedy, where we meet Hugh Capet, founder of the Royal House of France. In the first vignette, Hugh is in a semi-kneeling posture, reciting his prayers. In the second, he has attracted Dante's attention, and they converse. In the third, Hugh has returned to his devotions, and the poets move on. In the poem, Hugh introduces himself as one who, even though a crude parvenu, is disgusted by the rapaciousness of his descendants. The political criticism was of no interest to Botticelli, who viewed Dante's passion here as ranting worldly vanity. For him, the king is just another naked penitent, and politics are a meaningless disturbance. Next, the poets meet the soul of the Roman poet Statius, who lived in the generation following Virgil. Statius has just completed his penance on this level, and is ready to proceed to heaven. At left, we see him introducing himself to Dante and Virgil, who are as curious about him as he is about them. Statius was not actually greedy, but a spendthrift. Wastefulness is the inverse and equivalent of greed, so it is punished in the same way. Though souls in purgatory are naked, Botticelli has clothed Statius, and very elegantly at that, without warrant from the text. This was to characterize Statius as a high-living fashionista. At center, Statius is explaining to the travelers the curious meteorology of purgatory. It has no weather as we understand it, but is perpetually clear and calm. His arm is raised as he describes the upper levels of atmosphere that surround the earth. Lastly, Statius, an admirer and imitator of Virgil, has asked a question touching on Virgil's identity. Virgil has told Dante to keep this quiet, and we see Dante clutching his head as he tries to decide between the opposing demands. The same scene includes the action an instant later, when Statius learns the other traveler is none other than Virgil, and he kneels before the great poet in homage, while Virgil, embarrassed, tries to raise him. Statius leads the others up to the next level, that of the gluttonous. In the second, faintly sketched vignette, he is explaining how he became a Christian and eligible for heaven, inspired in part by lines in Virgil's poetry. It was generally believed in the Middle Ages that Virgil's fourth eclogue, which actually foretold the birth of an heir to the emperor's family, was a prophecy of the birth of Christ. This was what Dante thought, and we see in Virgil's pensive expression the irony of his failure to gain heaven. Lastly, we are shown one of the upside-down trees that grow on the Terrace of the Gluttons. The description in the poem is a bit cryptic, but Botticelli has rendered it levitating, its roots in the air. It is watered by streams that trickle down the cliff face, which we can see here spiraling round the trunk. Here on the Terrace of the Gluttons, Dante stares in fascination at one of the inverted trees that grow at intervals all along it, until Virgil admonishes him to keep moving. These otherworld, looking-glass trees obviously have deeper layers of meaning, but the one that Botticelli has focused on is the most literal. They are upside down so that their broadest fruit-bearing branches are always out of reach. So too, the water that bathes their roots cannot be drunk. The gluttons are tantalized by the unattainable refreshments, and their disembodied hunger wastes away their spiritual forms. To the left, Dante has encountered the friend of his youth, Forese. Botticelli has rendered the scene with wonderful sensitivity. Forese's face has shrunk to an unrecognizable anatomy. Dante knows him only by his voice. We see Dante looking with mild eyes of compassion. He does not see a skeleton, only his friend.
Aiza, aiza, seja que me